In a time of deep depravity, one fiery prophet dared to stand, confronting kings and queens, performing wonders that defied natural law. His name was Elijah. Though he faced despair and threats that would make the mightiest waver, he never relinquished his calling. In the end, this stalwart man of God ascended to the heavens in a fiery chariot, cementing his legacy for the ages. So who was this prophet exactly? Elijah explodes onto the pages of Scripture during a dismal period in Israel's history. The northern kingdom seethes in idolatry and moral decay under the rule of King Ahab and his ruthless wife Jezebel. These unscrupulous monarchs lead the people away from Yahweh to worship the Canaanite god Baal instead. Altars dedicated to this impotent deity appear everywhere as temples for Asherah, the Canaanite fertility goddess, proliferate. Into this gloomy context strides the fiery Tishbite prophet Elijah, meaning, "My God is Yahweh." Some scholars speculate Elijah's hometown was Tishbe, located in the region of Gilead, beyond the Jordan River. True to his name, Elijah zealously confronts wicked rulers, calling the nation to return to God. Right away, Elijah delivers a sobering message, declaring a severe drought will ravage the land for years as divine judgment for their wickedness. As a testament to this prophecy, rain ceases as forecasted. Rivers and streams wither, wells dry up, crops fail, livestock perish. Famine ravages the population. God tells Elijah to hide by the brook Cherith and he'll have water to drink, which is pretty crucial in a drought. But here's the crazy thing. Ravens are going to bring him food morning and evening. Ravens, folks. Birds that are usually more about taking food than delivering it. Yet, here they are, acting as divine Uber Eats for Elijah. It's miraculous and shows God's provision in a tangible daily's way, but it's also a bit of a warm-up for what's to come. Enter the widow of Zarephath. Elijah's brook dries up because, well, drought, and God sends him to a widow in a foreign land. Now, remember, this is a time and place where a widow would be among the most vulnerable, especially during a famine. Elijah finds her gathering sticks, preparing to make what she believes will be her and her son's last meal. The desperation in that scene is palpable, but Elijah asks her for a bit of water and a piece of bread. You can almost hear the incredulity in her voice as she explains she's got nothing but a handful of flour and a little oil. Here's where it gets mind-blowing. Elijah tells her not to fear, to go ahead and make that small cake of bread, but first make a little one for him, and then for her and her son, because the God of Israel says her jar of flour and jug of oil won't run out until it rains again. Now pause for a second and put yourself in her shoes. There's this stranger, claiming to be a prophet, promising that if she uses the last of her food to feed him, she won't run out of supplies. It's a leap of faith of monumental proportions. But she does it, and the flour and oil last, just as promised. It's a miracle of provision, yes, but it's also a testament to faith and the reward that comes with it. But wait, there's more. The widow's son gets sick and dies. Can you imagine? After everything, after this miracle of survival, her son dies anyway. The grief, the despair, it must have been overwhelming. In inconsolable grief, she cries out, "Man of God, what have you done? Have you come here to remind me of my sins by killing my son?" Sensing God will intervene, Elijah carries the lifeless boy upstairs to a room where he lives and closes the door. Then he stretches himself out over the boy's body 3 times, pleading for the Lord to revive him. Abruptly, the child sputters as life floods back into his body. Overjoyed, Elijah presents the living child back to his mother, saying, "Look, your son is alive." Through this miracle, God powerfully demonstrates compassion to a foreigner through his devout servant in the midst of national judgment. 3 years later, the drought persists. Seizing the opportunity, Elijah presents himself before wicked King Ahab with a brazen challenge that will go down in history. "Gather everyone to Mount Carmel," Elijah declares, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. Once everyone assembles, Elijah steps forward. "How long will you waver between 2 opinions?" he thunders. "If Yahweh is God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him." An uneasy silence ensues before Elijah proposes his dare. 2 altars, 2 bulls, but no fire. "You call on your God, and I'll call on the Lord, the one who answers by fire," he is God. Simple, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The prophets of Baal go first. They prepare their bull, dance around their altar, and start calling on Baal. Morning turns to noon, noon turns to afternoon, and there's no answer, not a peep. Shout louder, Elijah ridicules them. Perhaps Baal is hard of hearing, or traveling abroad, or even sleeping. The frenzied demonstration unfolds for hours, until the Baal devotees collapse in exhaustion, their bloodied bodies strewn about the altar and temple courtyard. Baal remains deafeningly silent. As evening shadows creep in, the watching crowds stand tense with anticipation, wondering what will happen next. They have witnessed quite a spectacle. Now, it's Elijah's turn. He does something unexpected. He rebuilds the Lord's altar with 12 stones, representing the 12 tribes of Israel, a symbolic gesture reminding the people of their true heritage and covenant with God. Then, he digs a trench around it, places the wood, cuts the bull into pieces, and lays it on the wood. He orders water to be poured over the offering and the wood, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So much water is used that it fills the trench around the altar. In a time of drought, this act is as shocking as it is wasteful. It's as if Elijah is stacking the deck against himself. But that's the point. There can be no doubt, no skepticism about what happens next. Finally, he raises his hands to heaven and prays, "O Yahweh, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, let it be known you are God in Israel today. Answer me so these people will know you have turned their hearts back again." Instantly, fire flashes down from heaven, savagely devouring the sacrifice, wood, stones, dust, and water in the trench. Israel sees and worships Yahweh as the one true God again. A tremendous spiritual battle played out that day between Yahweh and Baal, and by fire from above, the Lord mightily displayed himself as the one genuine God of Israel. After the fireworks on Mount Carmel, you'd think the story would pivot to a nation instantly corrected, a king humbled, and a people united in worship of the true God. But the journey of repentance, like justice, is rarely so straightforward. King Ahab and Queen Jezebel's reign continues to be marked by a refusal to turn from their ways, illustrating a hard truth. Witnessing a miracle doesn't always change a heart. Enraged by news that Elijah executed her prophets, Queen Jezebel dispatches a chilling message. "May the gods deal severely with me, if by this time tomorrow I have not taken your life like those you killed." Bizarrely, the formidable prophet who endured years of exile and just called down fire from heaven now wilts under the queen's vow of vengeance. Thoroughly shaken, Elijah flees southward. Reaching Beersheba, he leaves his servant behind and journeys a day's trip further into the wilderness of Paran. There, utterly spent, he collapses under a broom tree, begging God to let him die. Can you envision this mighty prophet of God curled up in utter despair under the desert sun? The fearless Tishbite who locked horns with the sinister Queen Jezebel now impulsively runs for his life into rugged wilderness, all from a single threat. Recognizing Elijah teeters on the brink of total breakdown from stress and fatigue, God mercifully intervenes. As Elijah slumbers beneath the shade of the scrubby tree, an angel touches him, saying, "Get up and eat." Elijah opens his eyes to see a cake baked on stones and a jar of water. He eats, drinks, and sleeps again. A second time, the angel administers the divinely prepared meal, sustaining Elijah for a 40-day, 240-kilometer trek to Mount Horeb. There, Elijah lodges in a cave. Then God poses a probing question. "Elijah, what are you doing here?" Bitterly, Elijah laments, "I have fervently served you, Lord. Yet now Israel has forsaken your covenant, torn down altars and killed your prophets. I alone am left, and now they want to kill me too." First, a fierce wind blasts the mountainside, but the Lord is not in the wind. Next, an earthquake shakes the ground, but God does not speak through the earthquake either. Then fire rages outside the cave, but again the Lord does not reveal himself. At long last, after the fire passes, a gentle whisper fills the cave. Recognizing God's voice, Elijah wraps his cloak around his face and stands at the entrance. The Lord repeats the critical question, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Chastened, Elijah confesses he has been burning with jealous anger over Israel's apostasy. God then graciously unveils his greater purposes. Elijah must travel back and anoint Hazael king over Aram and Jehu king over Israel. Critically, Elisha will succeed him as prophet, ensuring God's work continues through the next generation. No longer despairing, Elijah journeys back into the heart of Israel to find Elisha and invest him with the prophet's mantle, setting the stage for his successor to accomplish extraordinary feats by God's power. But first, more awe-inspiring exploits await Elijah himself. This man of fire and passion will repeatedly display God's strength before finally being swept to glory in a whirlwind. Several years pass after the Mount Carmel showdown. King Ahab dies in battle, and his son Ahaziah rules Israel. However, the new monarch perpetuates the blasphemous sins of his parents. One day, Ahaziah severely injures himself in a fall. Inquiring of the Philistine god Baal-zebub in Ekron whether he will recover, Ahaziah seals his doom. Elijah intercepts the king's messengers with a scathing divine message. Is it because there is no God in Israel for you to inquire of his word? You will not leave your bed, for you are about to die. Enraged, the king dispatches 3 military contingents to arrest this troubler of Israel. But each 50-soldier unit is rapidly consumed by Elijah's call for heavenly fire, climaxing his confrontations with corrupt rulers. Meanwhile, endowed with Elijah's cloak, his prophetic authority, Elisha commences ministering alongside his mentor. One day, Elijah asks his loyal attendant to remain behind while he journeys to Bethel, but Elisha refuses to leave him. Later at Jericho, Elijah repeats the request, yet Elisha stubbornly persists. As the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, I will not leave you. Departing Jericho, the men travel toward the Jordan, as fellow prophets gravely remark to Elisha, "Do you know the Lord will soon snatch away your master?" "Be silent," Elisha curtly replies, strained by anxiety. Reaching Jordan's banks, Elijah rolls up his cloak, strikes the waters, and they miraculously split. Master and student traverse the riverbed. Safely across, Elijah inquires what he can do before being taken from Elisha. Elisha responds without hesitation, "Please, grant me a double portion of your spirit." This impassioned plea mirrors that of an eldest heir seeking greater inheritance upon the father's death. "You have requested a hard thing," Elijah cautions, "but if you witness me being taken, your request will be fulfilled. If not, it will not." Shortly thereafter, suddenly a fiery chariot pulled by flaming horses bursts between them. A violent whirlwind sweeps Elijah into its vortex. As Elijah's cloak flutters down, Elisha snatches it up. Returning to Jordan, he strikes the waters yelling, "Where now is the God of Elijah?" Immediately the waters part, affirming Elisha now possesses Elijah's spirit in mighty double portion. Though Elijah attempts shielding Elisha from viewing his spectacular departure, God ordains his faithful attendant witness this awe-inspiring spectacle. Here, this formidable herald of God departs the world as mystically as he ministered within it, not by illness or age, but by a whirlwind of celestial fire, whisking him directly into God's presence. The story of Elijah and Elisha teaches us about the nature of true leadership in God's kingdom. It's not about titles or human authority. It's about faithfulness, mentorship, and a willingness to serve God's purposes, even when it means passing the mantle to someone else. It's a lesson in humility and trust, reminding us that God's work is always moving forward, always reaching out to the next generation. And for us, it's a call to be both faithful followers and wise mentors, always looking for those to whom we can pass the torch of faith. What do you think? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon for more content just like this. Until next time.